Alright guys, I'm going to go over the study guide for your test tomorrow. So, 1 through 4 are all dealing with Pythagorean theorem. So, on number 1, you saw a dash here and a dash here, and the whole thing was 16, which meant that this was 8 and this is 8. And then you knew that this altitude was 15. So, to find your hypotenuse, which is across from your 90-degree angle, you would do 8 squared plus 15 squared equals x squared. I plugged both of those in my calculator at the same time, so I have 8 squared plus 15 squared, which got me to 289. Take the square root of 289 and you get 17. For number 2, I saw that both of these had a common denominator of 9, so I just went ahead and did 4 squared plus x squared equals 8 squared, because 8's your hypotenuse. So then you have 8 squared minus 4 squared, which is 48. So I took the square root of 48 and reduced that down, which factors down to 16 and 3, and 16 breaks down to 4 and 4. So then, once I factored this out, or broke it down and got 4 squared root of 3, then I just put it back over 9 because our original 2 were over 9. So that's how I got 4 squared root of 3 divided by 9. For number 3, your hypotenuse was 14. So you have 10 squared plus x squared equals 14 squared. 14 squared minus 10 squared gives you the square root of 96. 96 breaks down to 16 and 6. Let me check myself. Yep, 16 and 6. And then 16 breaks down to 4 and 4. So your final answer was 4 squared root of 6. Okay, number 4, you have 60 and 45. So 45 squared plus 60 squared equals c squared. Take the square root of 5,625 and you get 75 feet was your answer. 75 feet. Okay, for 5, 6, and 7, make sure that first you determine if they make a triangle. So the two smallest sides have to add to be greater than the third. So 15 plus 36 is 51, and 51 is greater than 39. So check, we can move on. So now you need to square everything. 15 squared plus 36 squared is 1,521. Well, 39 squared is also 1,521. Well, since those are equal, they make a right triangle. Okay, these two made a triangle, or these three, because you add these two and it's greater than 26. I got 580 is less than 676, which makes it obtuse. These made a triangle. When I added these together and squared them, I got 625, which is greater than 576, which makes an acute triangle. All right, we have the rest of these on this page are special right triangles. So remember everything you know about special right triangles. If it's 30, well, this looks like a 30, 60, 90. So if this is your small, then you just have what you're given, and your leg is going to be small square root of 3, and your hypotenuse is going to be 2 times small. Okay, if you're given a 45, 45, 90, this is 45 and 45. If this is x and this is x, then this is x squared root of 2. Well, how do we know when to use those fancy formulas we derived? Here's when you use the formulas we derived. In a 30, 60, 90, you use the formula when you're given the leg with no square root of 3. Same thing over here. You use the formula when you're given the hypotenuse with no square root of 2. That's when you use the formula. When you're given the leg with no square root of 3, when you're given the hypotenuse with no square root of 2. So let's do some examples. Number 8. You're given your leg. Well, we're not given a square root of 3, so you have to use the formula. So to find your short, your x, you plug it in, square root of 3 divided by 3. This gives you a really bad decimal, so leave it as it is. Well, to find your hypotenuse, you just do your short times 2. Well, your short was 14, times it by 2, you get 28. Okay, over here, you're given your leg. However, you're given a square root of 3, so you don't need the formula. You just take 10, and that's going to be your short. Your short is 10. So then to find your hypotenuse, you double it, which is 20. Okay, you're given your hypotenuse, so to find your short, you divide it by 2, which is where you get y. So you need to do y first. Do y first. So you have your 15. To find your short, which is right here, this is your short, you just divide it by 2, which is 7.5. Well, to find your leg, you do short times the square root of 3, which is 7.5 square root of 3. Okay, number 11. You're given your hypotenuse. So find your short first, which is y. So find your short, which is y. Just divide this by 2, which gives you 8.5. So to find your leg, you do 8.5 square root of 3. Okay, number 12. You're given your leg, but you're given the square root of 3. So no formula is needed. Your short is just going to be 8. Your hypotenuse is 16. Number 13 is best case scenario. You're given your short. So then to find your leg, you just multiply it by the square root of 3. Find your hypotenuse, you double it. Okay, number 14. Look at it at one triangle at a time. So if that's 60, this has to be 90, and that's 30. So you're given your hypotenuse, which is 20. To find your short, you get 10. That makes your leg, which is x, 10 square root of 3. So this is 10 square root of 3. Well, if this is 45 and that's 90, then this is also 45. So to find your hypotenuse of a 45, 45, 90, you just take your leg, which is 10 square root of 3, and you multiply it by the square root of 2. Multiply those together, and you get 10 square root of 6. All right, 15. Take it one step at a time. First top triangle. You're given your short, 8 square root of 3. So to find your leg, you multiply that by the square root of 3. Well, 8 square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is just 8 times 3, which is 24. Okay, so now I have the hypotenuse of a 45, 45, 90 triangle. I have the hypotenuse, let me say that again. I have the hypotenuse of a 45, 45, 90 triangle with no square root of 2, which means I have to plug it in our formula. So to get each leg, I'd have to do 24 square root of 2 divided by 2, which simplifies to be 12 square root of 2. So x is 12 square root of 2. So this is also 12 square root of 2, which is your short for this triangle over here. So to find your hypotenuse, you just multiply it by 2, which is 24 square root of 2. Okay, if I went too fast, please feel free to rewind this and watch that again. All right, 16 through really 22-ish is all trig ratios. So on number 16, from your x, you have opposite over hypotenuse, which is sine. So when you're solving for your angle, you have to use sine inverse. So to find your x, you have to do x equals sine inverse of 11 divided by 13. 17, for 31, you're given your hypotenuse and your adjacent, which is cosine. So you have cosine of 31 equals, so TOA, which is x divided by 17. So multiply both sides by 17 and plug this in your calculator, and it should give you 14.6. 18, find angle T. Well, here's angle T. So you're given your opposite and your adjacent, so that's tangent. So tangent of x is equal to 21 divided by 3, or 21 square root of 3 divided by 71. If you're finding your x, you have to do the inverse. So plug all this in your calculator, and you will get 27.1. 19, you're finding angle T. You're given your opposite and your hypotenuse. So sine of x equals 9 divided by 24. To find x, you have to take the sine inverse of 9 divided by 24, and you should get 22. For 20, the distance along a hill is 24 feet. So here's your hill, and it's 24 feet. The land slopes uphill at an angle of 8 degrees. So here's your 8 degrees. This is 90 degrees because it's a hill. Find the vertical distance from the top to the bottom of the hill. So you're finding this. Well, this is your opposite. This is your hypotenuse. So you're going to use sine of 8 equals x divided by 24. Multiply both sides by 24. And you get x equals 3.3 feet. Okay, number 21 and 22 are just plugging these into your calculator. So sine of 52, and it wants you to round to 4 decimal places, so it cuts off here. And then cosine of A, it wants you to find A, which means you have to take the cosine inverse of 0.8945. So plug that in your calculator. Okay, 23. A fan is seated in the upper deck of a stadium that's 200 feet away from home plate. So if the bottom is 200 feet away from home plate, the angle of, so here's your fan. This is where they're sitting. The angle of depression, which is right here, this is your angle of depression, is 62 degrees. But that doesn't help me. Well, what else is 62 degrees is this right here. This is also 62 degrees. So at what height is the fan sitting? This is what you want to find. Well, this is your opposite over your adjacent. So we have to use tangent. So tangent of 62 equals opposite over adjacent. When you multiply both sides by 200, you will get 376.2 feet. All right, Annabelle and Rich are setting up decorations for their school dance. Rich is standing 5 feet directly in front of Annabelle under a disco ball. So I'm going to reset up this problem. Okay, so this is 5, this is 40, this is 50. I want to find this. Well, we talked about how we could find this is 10 and this is 130, and I want to find this side using law of sines. So sine of 40 divided by x equals sine of 10 divided by 5, because 40 goes with x and 10 goes with 5. So cross multiply and you will get 5 sine of 40 equals x sine of 10, and then divide both sides by sine of 10. This crosses out, so plug it in your calculator and don't forget to close your parentheses. 5 sine of 40 divided by sine of 10. So we found that this side right here is 18.5. So now we can find this side. And this is a 90-degree triangle, so I can just use SOHCAHTOA. Well, using this angle right here, this is your opposite and this is your hypotenuse, so we're going to use sine. So sine of 50 equals opposite over hypotenuse. So I would just multiply both sides by 18.5. These cancel. 18.5 times sine of 50 is 14.2, and that is your answer. All right, 25. So I'm going to reset this one up again. So what's happening is we have 2 lighthouses and we have a boat in the middle. So if you need to pause and read the question, do that, because I've already read it, so I'm just going to keep going. Here's your boat. Now the question says that the 2 lighthouses are 1,800 feet apart, which means they're 900 and 900 from the boat. So here's Little Gill, and it makes, I'll try to sketch this so it goes straight there, okay? And then over here, it's not quite as tall. This is, what did we call it earlier? There we go. Okay, so reading the question, you find that this is 91, this is 34. They both have angle of depressions, but this one has an angle of depression of 6, which means this is 6. This has an angle of depression of 2, which means this is 2. So from the light right here, And from the light right here, we want to know which light will hit the boat. Well, if this from here to here is 900 and from here to here is 900, the light would have to be greater than 900 feet. So we have to see which one of these has a light that's greater than 900 feet. So find this side and find this side. Okay, so using 6, I would use your opposite over your hypotenuse. So this is going to be sine of 91, I'm sorry, not sine of 91, sine of 6 equals your opposite, which is 91, divided by x. Now when x is down low, just switch these two, so you get x is equal to 91 divided by sine of 6. So x is equal to 870.6. So when we go over here, you have your opposite and your hypotenuse. This is what you're finding, this is what you're given. You use angle 2, so sine of 2 is equal to 34 divided by y. Switch these two. Y is equal to 34 divided by sine of 2. Plug that in your calculator. Y is equal to 974.2. So which lighthouse will have a light that hits the boat? Well, this light is only going to be 870. This light's going to be 974. So Plum Island Lighthouse wins. A digital camera with a panoramic lens is having a view with an angle of elevation. So here is your camera right here. Okay, now it's on a tripod that's 3 feet. And it's taking a picture of a 124-foot tall monument. Well, if the camera is at 3 feet, then this now becomes a 121-foot tall monument. It has an elevation of 38, and you want to know how far from the monument should you place the tripod. So you want to find this. So this would be your opposite and your adjacent. So we're going to use tangent. So you have tangent of 38 equals 128 divided by x, and I got 154.9 feet. Remember, just switch these two. So x is equal to 121 divided by tangent of 38. Okay, Amani needs to determine the height of a tree. Holding a drafter's triangle that has a 45-degree triangle, so that one leg is horizontal. So here's the triangle. This is horizontal. This is 45. Here's your tree. This is 90. Hint the angle of elevation is 45. She's 6 yards from the tree. Well, 6 yards times 3 feet, that gives you 18 feet. And keep in mind, Amani is already 5 feet tall. Find the height of the tree. Well, if that's 90 and that's 45, then this is 45. Hence, this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle, which means if this is 18, so is this. So if the height of the tree is 18, plus add the 5 from Amani, the tree is 23 feet tall. Okay, now 28, 29, and 30, I'm super sorry, but they were all done the same exact way. So here's how I set all these up. I'm going to explain one. You can stop here and see how I set these up, but I'm just going to explain one, and then you can look and see how I did the others. So 28, remember, the side and the angle that go together should be on the very ends. So x is here and the 111 is here. The other two sides go here. Minus 2 is your formula. Side, cosine of 11. In this case, you can plug all of this into your calculator at once, like this. Square root, 34 squared plus 29 squared minus 2, 34, 29 cosine of 111. And I rounded it to 52. Okay, all of these are done the exact same way. If you need to stop here to see how I got these answers, do that now. Okay, to the back, 31 and 33 were also done the same way. So stop now if you need to see how I did these answers. I'm not going to explain those. 32 was different though. 32 you found an angle, so I will explain myself on this one. So x was the angle being found, so 30 got to go on the outside. So you have 30, the other two sides, minus 2 times the side times the side. So I just went ahead and solved all this down. I subtracted the 1,460 and got negative 560. I divided by negative 1456, and then I got 67.4. I need you to get this answer. So make sure you're plugging it in your calculator the right way and not rounding weird. Okay, 34 to 35. You had to solve the whole entire triangle. So for 34, these are my answers. And this is how I did it. So first I started off with just finding angle A, using law of cosines. Yep, law of cosines. So if I want to find angle A, then 23 went on the outside. So here's how I set that up. I reduced, I divided where needed, I subtracted where needed, and it got me to 82.1. And then I used law of sines to find angle B. So this is where I found angle B. So I did sine of 82.1 divided by 23, sine of x divided by 18. Cross multiply, you get sine of x equals 18 sine 82.1 divided by 23. Now, watch this, because some of us are messing this up. 18 sine 82.1, close your parentheses, divided by 23. Second sine, second answer. That's how I got my answer of 50.8. From there, you can find your third angle by doing 180 minus angle A minus angle B. Okay, on 35, here are my answers. I found angle C first by doing law of sines. 49 goes with 18. So sine of 49 goes with 18. Sine of x goes with 11. Cross multiply. Again, plug this in your calculator. 11 sine of 49 divided by 18. Second sine, second answer, 27.5. Okay, from there I found angle B by just doing 180 minus the two angles you already knew. Then we had to find the side of AC. I did that by law of cosines. So I needed AC, so it had to go on the outside, and its angle went on the inside. We've done a lot like this, so you set it up, plug it in your calculator, and I got 23.2. I knew I went through that fast, but you can pause, rewind, and come to zero period in the morning to get help if you needed. Good luck studying.